time back. Not that I've actually been anywhere. Whenever we go anywhere, we're still there. But I actually didn't go anywhere. Instead, things have been happening here in the monastery that have occupied me a little, mentally, and with some duties. So I took it as an opportunity also to have a break for a few days, recording these talks on video, to just allow myself some time, days between, to simply meditate, to clear the mind, along with the things going on here. But firstly, some announcements. I've moved, but not far. I'm still in the monastery, same monastery, but I've moved into a proper kuti. You'll see, maybe it's noticeable, I don't know on the video, but this is much smaller. This is like in England, we have a small wooden garden shed. It's about the same size as that, on the stilts, with some steps up to keep it off the ground, as most places in Thailand are, because of the creatures. And it's conforms to the basic, very basic standards for a monk. Before, I was in quite an elaborate, I call it elaborate, it was still a garden shed but big, kind of kuti, a little further away, on the edge of the forest between the beach and where near the sala and near some other accommodation, which is really guest accommodation when we have guest monks and such like coming for functions, as we did this weekend. So it was a good opportunity, and it's fortunate for me, to be a privilege also for me to be moved into a proper regular monk's kuti. Now there are only 3 monks properly here all of the time, the 2 ajahns. There is probably some 100 meters, 200 meters in that direction in the forest, and the other ajahn similarly 200 meters in that direction in the forest, and I'm in the middle, the most junior, but we are deep in the forest. So this is experimental. Firstly, I've had to find a place, because on my veranda it's very nice, but there are lots of mosquitoes just there at the moment, and there isn't so much light being in the canopy of the shade of the trees, even before sunset. During the day it will be possible, but to make outside videos here, but it hasn't been possible time-wise so far. But anyway, these announcements, and then I'll just recount what's happened over the last few days, which will encroach, as all things do, on Dharma, but not a full talk this evening. In my absence, which wasn't an absence, we've gone over 2,000 subscribers now, so much gratitude, Animo Dharma and Animo Dana, and sadhu, 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 thank you for subscribing. And over 300,000 views it's not 9 months yet. I think I said 9 months last month, but no, it was still 8 months. No, it's not quite 9 months until about the end of this month, May, when really what started by a little accident in the middle of the Vasa last August, whilst I was on my own in Tunkur, chatting making a couple of videos, I've carried on because interest has been there. So whilst it's useful, then I continue to do this. It takes no time at all. They're unedited. I don't know how to well, I could work it out, but I don't bother editing. I don't plan these talks, as you can tell, and I don't really need to think about them in between time. It's a privilege for me and enjoyable to receive the comments and emails that I do. They're manageable. I can go through them and reply directly to people, and I find it's useful for me because talking about the Dharma is a good way of reinforcing the Dharma in one's own mind. And one way of talking is with another person, to and fro, back and forth, but this can be a debate. But when you're allowed the opportunity, as we should all do when we're listening to someone, to speak uninterrupted, we really can iron things out. We can talk and I can talk and talk and talk to the back of a plastic phone, still the same old regular inexpensive phone that's doing a good job for me making these videos. It's become my familiar friend to talk to, only because I know that you're all there, the other side, and I know that from the comments, so that's good. But it gives me an opportunity to talk about the Dharma and think on it and iron out the wrinkles, because I don't get it right. I'm only repeating what I've learned, and I'm relatively new to monastic life. Well, as an ordained bhikkhu to monastic life, I'm relatively new, although I've been around monastic life now for quite some time, over 10 years now. But I've only been a bhikkhu, I've only been a monk for, well, I ordained firstly in 2023, so 3 years. But this is my first pansa, first vasa, or the first main year as a bhikkhu. Anyway, many bhikkhus of many vasas, 40 plus vasas, have been descending upon the monastery here this last few days because it's the death anniversary of the monk who founded this monastery, the 3-year death anniversary on the 15th of May. This was yesterday. He's a very renowned, highly respected monk of high standing, many years in the robes, a very respected and well-known teacher in this area, whom established this monastery, having been given the land more than 50 years ago. It was in the 50s, so what are we now? So 60 odd years ago, I think. I'm not 100% sure on all of the facts, so I'm not going to guess or make it up from the bits and bobs I've heard. But my situation here, not speaking the language and them not speaking English, this isn't a kind of monastery that normally takes what they call Phra Dan. Phra is venerable or monk, equivalent of Bhante, and Farang means foreign in Thai. So Phra Dan is a foreign monk. It's a politely used term. When they call you Phra Dan, it's not rude or racist or something like that. It's endearing. But this is rare for them to have a Phra Dan here, and they're not really sure what to do with me. So they put me in the guest accommodation firstly, and I stayed there a little too long. Now I'm established and properly living here. A little unofficially so far, because last Friday I had to go, another reason I wasn't able to do this. I had to go to the immigration office again. So I'm still technically here as a tourist, but stage by stage, very slowly. It's a long process for monks. I've been to the national, I've been taken by the very kind abbot here of the monastery, a senior ajahn. Ajahn means teacher. And my teacher, I have two teachers here. officially my main teacher is the other one, and the abbot is more responsible for the running of the monastery. So he helps me in that respect, and therefore also with my immigration and visa needs. So he took me to the National Office of Buddhism firstly. I had to be asked some questions there, then complete forms. Then I had to go to some very high up people in the Sangha of Thailand, monks, to get their approval, letters of approval from very high up in the monastic Sangha. They don't know me, but the abbot knows me. I've lived here now for 4 months. We're together 24 hours a day, you know, not literally, but he's come to know of my experience in monasticism, my training and my background, not through talking, but by just me taking part in various events and our daily life. You couldn't just turn up here without having been around monastic life for 10 years and really get on very well, because you wouldn't fit in to the routine. And monks do come and go, whom have many vasas, but trained in slightly different korwat. This is the style of the particular tradition, and this korwat follows the korwat, the style, the tradition of Ajahn Chah, whom descends from the teachings or the lineage of Ajahn Mun, who revived this forest tradition here in Thailand. So it's a very important part of Thailand, and in fact, is like the backbone of traditional Buddhism here in this country, having been revived back in the 30s, 40s, and subsequently established a very strong standing and regard here in this country and around the whole world. In my own country, it is this tradition, this lineage that introduced me into Buddhism. I then explored the other kinds briefly, but came back to this as being what suited me, or this person, this monk, as I am now, but wasn't back then. What was I saying? So the third death anniversary of Longpo, whose compassion, dedication, faith, and all of the 4 Brahma Viharas, so loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, and mudita, joy for others. And it must have taken a considerable amount of equanimity, upekkha, to build this, what is here, with the help of the lay people, and establish this very well-established monastery. Not with many thousands of people coming every day, or even many hundreds, just a few dozen. But it seems to have a very loving feel about it. It's like a family of people that visit, the lay people, and it's like a family in the monastery. But as I saw for the first time this weekend, it became like what I've experienced in other monasteries on a more regular basis. And maybe come the Wesak celebrations it'll be the same, but probably not on such a scale. But many monks from all over Thailand with very senior roles in the Sangha of the Thai Forest tradition came to stay. So we had to there's only 3 monks and a samanera. The monk I refer to sometimes as Sampalapa monk, the monk who's busy and talks a lot, he's back, he returned, but he's very quiet because he's not very ill. I'm not sure what's wrong. Oh, sorry, he's not very well. He's been quite ill. He's been in his kuti. So he's been being looked after. He gets his 1 meal a day still, and someone goes and gets his bowl, but he stays in his kuti. But he's been out for this in the last day, so doing some sweeping. So hopefully he's getting better. But really it was us 3, and the samanera, or Neem as they call them here, he had to go away. He went on Tudong. So part of his homage and respect to Longpo, who died 3 years ago, he was his teacher. He's grown up with him, I think, from a child. This is all what I've worked out, trying to understand. So forgive me if I get anything wrong. If you know what is right, let me know. If you don't, I will find out. Because a book was released, a biography of Longpo, the founder here, this weekend. So I will endeavour to get hold of a copy for myself. It's in Thai, but maybe slowly with Google Translate I can translate it and get some facts about the lineage in which I'm living and have immense gratitude for, despite not knowing or having met the teacher I'm referring to as just plain Longpo, which means venerable grandfather in Thailand. Now, what was I saying? Yes, so many monks, they have these very nice minibus things that they come in, and with they have a senior monk has an upatak, who's his assistant, helps clean his bowl, helps put his robes on when he's going on alms, and does everything important. And even the upataks had assistants. So we had upataks, and everybody helping, and all following this same this same tradition, these same routines and rules. So it goes so smoothly, with no one having to speak about anything. So this is how I can live here without speaking the language. It doesn't matter. They don't need to speak the language, even though they can fluently, because it's not necessary for us to talk much. We do everything the same way, wherever we are, in whatever monastery, in whatever country in this tradition. It's a beautiful thing to live with and see. But even for me, having lived around it for this amount of time, but especially for me as being a relatively new bhikkhu, so fully ordained monk, I get a little bit of a disturbance. I can't say it's anxiety, I can't say it's nervousness, I can't say it's fear, it's none of those things. It's a disturbance of the mind that these are very, very endearing, these monks, senior, however high they are, they endear themselves to you immediately. They're arriving in the posh minibus and all of the assistants around them and the people following them, and they sit on the asana, which is the raised part, and as a monk we go and bow and pay our respects. And at this point I'm thinking, oh, this person is so important, and my fear is always of myself doing something wrong, and I did so many things wrong. Nobody says anything or minds. They understand. There's kindness always. And the minute you bow, you feel metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. You feel loving kindness, compassion, joy for others, and equanimity. You feel it coming from the heart of that senior monastic. And then when a further 7 or 8 arrive, and you similarly are having the same disturbance of the mind, bowing, and then the same back, I no longer felt that way, in very short time, any disturbance, because I felt the kindness from the senior monks to the most junior monks. And I am the most junior monk. There were some maybe less or even junior to me, but I assume and I take the place as most junior unless I'm put somewhere by one of my teachers, one of my senior monks, deliberately. And then I feel a little out of place because I feel like I should be at the back hiding away. But it's some of the protocols I'm yet to learn. And I'm picked up on things. Normally I wear a piece of this cloth around my head, like just a turban when I'm in the sun, because it's very hot. And when I go in the sun, I get like a headache very quickly. It's sunstroke, you know. But because we were having many eyes here, and things have to be done according to not only the 227 Bhikkhu rules, and this does come into that, the main important rules of the Bhikkhu. It comes under many of the other thousands of rules attached to each monastery, this core what? That we do not wear hats unless it's of a particular reason and of health. And one could argue this was that case, but no. My teacher, we were sweeping, and he said, "Phra Dan," and I looked over and I thought, oh, I must be sweeping the wrong place. He said, "This no good monk." Oh, I thought, well, I know that. I said, "Oh, thank you, Ajahn. I'll tell you why I said thank you in a minute." I took it off and put it in my pocket. I thought, oh no. And then all this came up in my mind, disturbance. But I can't explain, he doesn't understand. I'm now going to have a headache all night and feel sick because of the sun and blah, 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 blah. It's all rubbish, you know. We think this. It's not true. For thousands of years, monks have been doing it this way, in this place. No problem. Why am I different? Not because I'm from England. For hundreds of years, monks from England have been doing it this way, in this place. So it's me, okay? So the disturbance is me disturbing the mind, or this thinking mind disturbing what is normally quite, or getting towards equanimous citta. Citta is like our heart mind. Now, this again was a disturbance, but as I said thank you, I thought of what I was saying. I was thanking my teacher for reminding me something I did know, but he was teaching me a lesson. Now, not just because there were people there, because there was no one there at that moment in time, or that people were going to be there. All of the time, that is the rules. Now, it's by no way of a promotion, but I've been accepted and I've come into a proper little monk's house. This is it, very small. Very empty. There is a shrine up there, but I can't get it into the camera also. I'll show you around this in daylight when I get an opportunity and when it's appropriate. And they are making great efforts with regards to all of the process, this procedure we go through for the visa, which isn't easy, and they're not used to foreigners. So even monasteries where I've stayed before, where they have a lot of foreigners, it's not easy. Now, there isn't a problem with it. We had to go to the immigration office, like I said, and it was just to take in some documents. I have to sign so many pieces of paper, and then all of the copies. And I have to sign it in my full name, fortunately, because I have so many different names. I wouldn't know what to sign it in otherwise. But the same as what's on my passport, so that's easy enough. That's all I have to do. I don't know what I'm signing because I can't read it, but I trust them. You know, these are my brothers in the Dharma here. And slowly, then, as you see, I'm still a tourist until the end of May, 31st of May, when finally my tourist visa, which has been extended many times, runs out. But the immigration officer said we have to go back on the 31st of May. So I don't even ask questions, there's no need, because I trust them. Not immigration, I trust that, you know, I don't know them, but my monk's helping me, and the layperson who speaks English, who drives us, he could translate, but I don't want to bother them, so I just say, yeah, okay. So we're going back on that means, presumably, that then they'll change my visa into a monk's visa. Because otherwise, on the 31st of May, I've got to get out of Thailand very quickly, well, by midnight, otherwise I'd be causing myself future problems for coming, and I'd be breaking the laws of the land. So I'm guessing it's all been okayed. It's just a matter of waiting until the expiry and for them to give me. Now they have all the documents and the photographs and this and that. The official, you're not a tourist anymore staying in Thailand, you're a monk staying in Thailand. And that's all I can be, is a monk staying in Thailand. This isn't some kind of, oh, you now go off on have your holidays or something. They only let you stay a long, long time if you're a monk. And then there's still reviews and things. But it's done very well. They treat monks very well. We don't have to queue, we don't have any problems or waiting. It's a very different experience to what I've been used to over the years in different countries, naming none. So, that occupied a little bit of my mind. The visitors all coming. There wasn't much in the way of ceremony or things going on. Just a lot more people eating, a lot more people coming bringing the food. Really, that was it. I think there's a few more things to do. Today we went on a house visit also with one of the monks that had been staying, which was my first house visit in Thailand. This is where we go for lunch, our one meal at somebody's house. But that was a very strange affair because the people hosting us, it didn't appear that they were there. So I don't know what that was about, but again, I won't know. It'll come in time. These things I find out, you know. It's not I don't panic to find out here and now what's going on. That would be bothersome. They'd soon get fed up with me. If they wanted to explain, they would find a way of explaining. So I just go with it. And it's far more relaxing that way, less disturbance. Now when I say this disturbance, it's very subtle, but I had to find a way of dealing with it. Because when I say it's disturbance, it's interesting. And this is all Dharma I'm talking about, it's not just monk diary, because it's coming to quite a big subject I'm going to talk about in the next talk, maybe even few talks. Maybe for the rest of what's left of this week, or even longer, because it's a very big, there's a gecko, it's a very big subject that doesn't really get so much. This is the little conversation we have. You get 3 of those and then 4 of those, and then, oh, you listen. Go on, oh. Oh, he heard me, I interrupted him. Sorry. That. Yeah, so what was I saying? So that wasn't very mindful of me, was it? Going off track like that and then forgetting what I was saying. But it's very much, you're very much more in nature in this little kuti. As you see, these are slatted. I can close them, but I don't. I have just the mosquito stuff on the outside. So it's all open, so all of the creatures are around me and I can hear them in the night. We've had some storms, some stormy weather. And anyway, this big subject, and coming back from my little admonishment over the hat when I said thank you, it reminded me of this big subject. And when I was walking on arms round, I was just looking at my feelings. How am I feeling now? Am I feeling happy, content, sad, disappointed, or homesick even, if that's a thing? And I was feeling just a little disturbance in what's normally quite settled in my mind. No reason, nothing to complain about. In fact, everything gets better from days to day as each day goes by here. I get more used to things that are a little awkward when you first arrive, you know, just physical discomforts. I'm feeling more at home because I've been here longer. You know, it takes a while to live and settle with new people. You know, we get married, we don't marry strangers, do we? We get to know people. We don't usually move in with strangers, we get to know them. But in this job, this industry, you just move in. That's it. And you hope it's going to be okay, and it is, because we all have this same core watch, this way of behaving. But you still have different characters. And this is what you find out living with people. Some you get on with more than others, but there's no getting on necessary. But anyway, you is the problem. with any of these situations. So I saw a little problem arising of what it really boiled down to was my little routine had been interrupted by things that were out of my control. As of course I know everything is. You know everything is out of our control. Anatta. Even these bodies and thinking minds are not within our scope of control. They get old, they get sick, they die. But we still have this habitual tendency towards, well, that's not what I normally do. Well, I'll go with it for now. When there's a huge uncertainty also, not having the language or being able to look at a program or agenda or something like this, they don't really produce such things so much here. They just all seem to know what's happening. Probably because they do talk to each other at some point. But anyway, I don't, so I have no idea. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And living with uncertainty is one whole subject I want to talk about. But dealing with all of these, or any disturbance, there is the very best technique. So for instance, and this doesn't come up so much in talks regarding Buddhism or Dharma talks, because it doesn't really come up in any of the Buddhists' lists. If you've heard me quote lists like the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, or the 7 Factors of Enlightenment, or the 5 Hindrances, or the 4 Brahma Viharas, these lists are all words like the Brahma Viharas of loving kindness, compassion, joy for others, and equanimity. Then the parami, the 10 parami, dana, and we won't go through all these lists. But one word that doesn't come up so much in it doesn't come up in any of them, is gratitude. Gratitude. Kata vitaka begins with kata in the Pali language, and I don't know the word because it doesn't come up in these Buddhist lists, because the Buddha thought of gratitude as contentment in the suttas. It comes up a lot in the suttas as contentment, and what I've spoken of often is, what is happiness? It is contentment. Happiness is a symptom of contentment, and discontentment produces the symptom of sadness. So it is contentment that comes from the getting rid of desire, either wholesome or unwholesome desire, that produces contentment. But I want to talk about gratitude and how that produces contentment, and how it is such an effective and useful tool for you and for me and for all of us when either we have just those little disturbances or we have something really majorly serious happening in our lives. Because, for example, when I had very good reason to argue and say, no, I need to wear this thing, I would never have done that. But I would have 5-6 years ago here, I would have said no. I would have just said I have to, otherwise I get ill, or got in an argument or something. Not an argument, a discussion. But no, I just said thank you, Ajahn. And I meant thank you, Ajahn, for the lesson. That immediately released any feeling of self, of, well, I know why I'm wearing this, I've got good reason to, and it's important to me. Or it's usually done this way or that way, or they do it here like this and they do it there like that. It gets rid of all of that. Simple word, thank you, which is gratitude. But gratitude isn't just being thankful for someone giving you this or giving you that. We as monks, for receipt of such things like dana, food and things, we're not to say thank you. We say anumodana. Like I say anumodana for all of you subscribing. And that's, I'm thinking of the time. I think I've spoken far too much and not said what I needed to say. But I will be talking about gratitude as what a very useful tool it is, not only to help with the development of contentment, because it is contentment, it's being content with what you're getting, but how you can use it to really build on what you are building upon through the rest of your practice of metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, joy for others, and ultimately upekkha, equanimity. So to really establish the 7 factors of enlightenment, gratitude is the tool needed. And when you learn to practice it in a way that is a slight adjustment on our, at least in the English language, and from an England, a person having brought up in the UK's point of view, the meaning of gratitude is a little bit insipid. But from a Buddhist point of view, it's a very powerful and usable thing, tool, lever towards enlightenment. Now I must stop here there. I think there's many things I've forgotten to say, which have arisen in my absence, but I'm sure I'll have the opportunity to talk about those things in the next video. I hope in there you can find something useful, and if you do, you please use it and share it with other people, because if you can share, I forgot to mention the most important thing. Another thing I've been doing, or before we had the visits last week, before I knew about the visits and things, there will be no more adverts during my talks. There may be some adverts before or afterwards, that's not within my control. But even if you go back to the beginning of all these videos, they will not be interrupted by advertisements. So you can listen or watch the Dharma without interruption. And I hope you can continue to do that now, uninterrupted, and that will be a much better experience for you and give you more confidence to share Dharma with others. And if by this means is a way you can share Dharma with others by sharing these talks, then I have immense gratitude towards you for this very meritorious activity of sharing Dharma through a means you trust and find useful. So that was just what I meant to say, that there's no more adverts in the video. And thank you for your patience so far with that. I'm not aware, I don't watch them. And there were very few comments about it, so I don't think it was a problem. But I saw it as, let's say, a little disturbance, because I wouldn't like it myself. I have YouTube Premium, where you don't get any adverts anywhere at all, because I won't, as a monk, watch things with adverts in. Apart from it would waste my time, because it would take longer to watch something. They're not appropriate mostly. When one subscriber commented that his Dharma talk was filled with adverts for chicken and music and dancing girls and things like this, it highlighted the point of how inappropriate adverts can be sometimes. And of course so they would be very inappropriate in guided meditations. Anyway, they're gone. No more ads. Okay, so that was what I had to say. I must leave it there. Thank you for watching, and I will be back to you soon to talk about that very important and very exciting subject of gratitude. Anumodana Sukhi Hotu. Be happy, be well.